I'm delighted to be talking with Rosalind Rutt this morning. Rosalind is an Action Hampshire Ambassador and has spent many years working with Hampshire's rural communities in various roles, and then several years after she retired as an Action Hampshire trustee. So Rosalind, thank you very much for being with us today. Please tell us about one or two highlights or memorable experiences from the time that you spent working with Hampshire's rural communities.
Well, one of the things that I remember was a giant birthday cake in the shape of a house, which was celebrating 10 years of hurrah. They had built homes or enabled homes for over 1,000 people to stay in or return to their communities in rural Hampshire. And that was a fantastic moment, celebrating that work.
What are some of the changes in Hampshire's rural areas that you've seen over your time?
Many of the issues that were pressing in the 80s and 90s and after that are still there, only often more acute, unfortunately. The lack of housing, decline in services, withdrawal of bus services, village shops and pubs closing, and hidden deprivation in every village, where there are a few families or individuals who have got problems of poverty, loneliness and so on. But the biggest change has to be technological change with IT, online shopping, social media, working from home, even telemedicine, and demographic changes with the exodus of young people and an increase in the older population, and some villages becoming more dormitories with commuters than before.
What would you say are the strengths of our rural communities?
I think pride in the local area, a sense of identity, and care for where they live in many rural communities. And this sense of community means that people work together very well. And this was particularly shown in COVID, when many communities started totally new projects of delivering food to a wide range of people, or helping in all sorts of new ways. And lots of community enterprises in rural areas, like community shops and pubs, even a farm, community land trusts for housing, good neighbour schemes, IT training, luncheon clubs. And the other strength, I think, is the physical network of social infrastructure, which doesn't exist so well in many urban areas. Village halls are a huge asset, and some still have access to churches and pubs as social areas where people can meet, and I think this is a huge benefit.
Looking forward, what are the biggest challenges that you see for Hampshire's rural communities?
Well, it has to be climate change. That'll have a huge, and what it is having a huge impact on the environment, on the landscape, on biodiversity, agriculture, what people can grow, water supply, storms, flooding, you name it, it affects it. And then another big challenge is energy costs, also linked into climate change. We've reached peak oil, so what do we use next for transport, for heating homes? And an increasingly older population too, with challenges for the appropriate housing and healthcare services, reducing loneliness and social isolation. And then I think climate change will lead to other economic changes. I think there'll be a lot more domestic tourism, for example, and people coming from abroad too. So there are opportunities as well as challenges there. And of course, the eternal problem of how to provide more housing that's appropriate for local people at different stages in their life. That will remain a key challenge.
What would help them thrive going into the future?
I can think of so many things. Let's give a few examples. Better connectivity is an obvious one. Increased broadband, transport links, fewer potholes would be good. I think more support for volunteers is pretty crucial, and community organisations. Volunteers can't do everything. They shouldn't be expected to take over statutory responsibilities that other organisations have responsibility for. And they need increased financial support and training in some instances, but also some certainty, not just funding from year to year. And they can achieve a huge amount, but they can't be expected to take on everything that they are at the moment. We need to encourage community and social businesses, and perhaps have a better relationship between urban and rural areas, better understanding of the countryside by town and city dwellers, and more opportunities for informal recreation in the countryside. And finally, I think one crucial thing is what we used to call rural proofing, that government and other organisations really need to recognise that rural communities are different from urban areas. They have different needs and strengths. One size doesn't fit all, they're very diverse. Martin is different from Selborne, Brockenhurst different from Vernon Dean, so tailor your policies and programmes accordingly.
Rosalind, thank you so much for your time today and for all of the energy and the time you've poured into supporting Hampshire's rural communities over the years. Just as we finish, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, I think just one message is work together. Rural communities have survived for hundreds of years and adapted. By adapting to change and working together, they can carry forward to the future.